going on, everyone? You'll never guess. I'm in a fucking rush again. I remember when I decided to turn this into like a solo podcast, it was purely based on like having no time to do anything. And I think I've come to realize that no matter how organized or fucking whatever you think you can get, time is always going to sneak up and fuck you right in the dick hole. So I think I've just been blacklisted from YouTube for dropping dick hole in the first, 20 seconds, but that's all right. We'll get there eventually. So this week's drama. Who wants to hear this week's drama? James, how can there be any more dramas? You've just gone through a big depression phase. You fucked your knee. What else could possibly happen? Well, I'm not sure if I came in here last week and jinxed myself. I'm not even entirely sure I came and spoke about this on the podcast last week, but I know in my normal everyday today life, I mentioned it multiple times because when I was comparing my knee surgery, the $7,000 knee surgery, I know I mentioned that, I was relating it to my wisdom teeth have been coming up and down for the last, 10 years or so, right? But every time I go to get them looked at, they're like, because a couple of them are on nerves, so they're like, oh, you've got to go under. It's like $2,500-$3,000 fucking surgery or some shit like that. And I'm like, I'm just going to deal with the pain until it goes away. And I don't know, maybe the religious glazier from last week cast a little fucking hex on me because I didn't believe in his healing abilities. But my wisdom tooth on this side has been causing me havoc since Thursday last week. So it's now Monday and I've just got off the phone to the dentist, literally hung up and hit record because I was like, I need to go and record something in case shit goes down. But he goes, can you be here in about an hour and a half? And I go, okay, podcast goes for about an hour, gives me half an hour leeway. So I might try to get to an hour or I might hit the panic button halfway through this. So let's see how we go. But more or less, he goes, if we can get it out today, you're happy to get it out? And I'm like, well, I can't sleep at night because of my excruciating pain. So sure, let's do it. And I didn't want to come and record a podcast after it with fucking gauze and shit in my mouth. So you're welcome, everybody. You're welcome. There was a little promise I made last week that I had a sound effect for every time I drink sorted, which I was going to queue up on the roadcaster this morning, but time has got me again. Time is the killer. Here's a fun fact for you all, now that I just said time out loud and my autistic brain jumps from one thing to a fucking another. My most listened to song on Spotify for the last 2 years in a row is Time by NF. Go listen to that fucking song. And it's literally like me. Like, I didn't even realize I listened to this song as much as I did. And then it kept popping up on my Spotify rap. So I showed Nikita and she's like, holy shit, that's fucking you. And it's basically just about a dude who, like, more or less puts the rest of his life on the back burner because he's always just so fucking busy in his own head trying to get shit done. Blah, blah, blah. But go give that a listen. Time by NF. Now let's get back to our regular programming. So I was planning to come in and give you all an update on my knee before my tooth started to fuck me over. And it's looking pretty likely that I'm not going to need the surgery. I've been doing some sort of exercises, some self-rehabilitation, if you will, on my knee to try and get it back to a respectable level. So yeah, this time last week I was still hobbling around in immense fucking pain, and glad to say that as of right now I'm walking normal. I did legs at the gym yesterday. Obviously I didn't fucking stack out the weights, but the range of movement and all that was back there. And yeah, it's good to have it back to a somewhat usable state. I have a couple of installs again this week, next week. A couple of installs coming up again next week, and that's going to be the true test. When you're ripping out an old kitchen and carrying in a whole new kitchen on your own, it sort of tests your body a little bit. So who knows? Next week I could come in with no knee and no tooth, and it's a whole new fucking podcast. But yeah, something that has helped me with it, and again, I don't know why it's taken me so long to jump on the bandwagon, but it was something that my Lord and Savior, Joe Rogan, there was actually a correlation. I thought about this at the gym yesterday. I was listening to Joe Rogan had Andrew Schultz on, right? And I was listening to him, and for whatever reason in my head, it was literally because of what I'm about to tell you. So for years, Joe Rogan's spoken about this dude on Instagram and YouTube called Knees Over Toe Guy, right? Or Knees Over Toes Guy, which is I don't know, it's a pretty random name to have for your YouTube channel or whatever, but it's working for him, and he's got the tick of approval from Joe Rogan. So this dude basically came up with this, it's almost like a stretching workout plan sort of thing, and it's more or less for people that have got bad knees, and it strengthens all the muscles around the knee that are obviously lacking that cause like knee injuries and things like that. So Rogan's always tooted this dude's horn, and then a heap of sort of jiu-jitsu guys and stuff like that I listen to their podcasts or see clips of them and shit, they drop his name as well, and I'm like, oh. And then after last week's episode, when I was like, I want to try and fix this without surgery, I was like, well, let's give this dude a crack, hey? So yeah, I've been doing some of his little exercises, and at the start, fuck me, like that. Literally, the first movement I saw of his was more or less bend down and touch your toes and do this sort of motion with it as well. And I just could not straighten my knee enough to even attempt bending down, but I did that 3 days in a row, and by the third day, I was like, I can straighten my leg now and do the movement. And again, I don't know if that's because of, I can only put it down to trying to do that, I guess. The other alternative is it could just be luck of the draw, and my knee is healing by itself, and now I'm giving Knees Over Toe Guy all the credit. But yeah, the thing I was going to say before, the little correlation I made where, and I'm not the only podcaster that does this, there's literally thousands of us D-grade podcasters out there that refer to Joe Rogan as like our Lord and Savior or the God of podcasting or fucking whatever. And this popped into my head of, for years and years, people have like worshipped God and Jesus and things like that because of the Bible, right? Now, I don't have a word count on the Bible, but I could almost guarantee Joe Rogan's up to like episode 2000 and something. Let's say 2,200 for argument's sake. I would argue that Joe Rogan has spoken more words into young people's brains like mine than the Bible has spoken into an entire religion. Which I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to start the Joe Rogan. I guarantee there's a Joe Rogan cult. I might go and join it. Start doing DMT and bow hunting in my spare time. I've already started the podcasting and comedy thing, and the Knees Over Toes guy. So, am I Australia's Joe Rogan? Yes, I am. But yeah, the other shitty thing that I'm struggling with, I guess, with the whole knee injury. So, when I quit my job and started working for myself again in, when was that? October or something. It gave me more time to get back into what I've spoken to you guys about, my running, my fucking ice baths, my saunas, just the whole fitness umbrella, I guess you'd call it. And because of my knee, I've had to stop half my workouts at the gym. I don't really get to do a warm-up or a warm-down anymore, which was sort of skipping and the Aerodyne bike, sometimes the sort of treadmill and shit like that. But basically all cardio's out the window, right? I've been told that cycling is good for the knee, but here's a little fun story. I think this might have been before the podcast time. For the longest time, when I started dabbling into the gym again, so I don't know, let's call it a year, right? For a year I was doing this. My warm-up was 15 minutes on the stationary bike. One day I went to work and I went to have a piss, and all of a sudden blood came out of my dick hole, and I'm like, yes, that's the second time I've dropped dick hole in this episode, so you're welcome. Blood came out. I'm like, what the fuck? So obviously I've gone upstairs, told my boss, and he's like, you should probably go to the hospital. So I go to the hospital, they start doing all these tests. And randomly, this doctor was like, they couldn't find anything, right? No infections, no fucking disturbances down there. Like I wasn't sticking my pinky down my dick hole 3 times for the dick hole. So yeah, then this random doctor came in and he goes, random question, have you been doing much like cycling or bike riding lately? And I was like, no. And then I was like, actually, yeah, I do 15 minutes every morning. And he's like, look, this is super weird and uncommon, but sometimes when dudes ride bikes, because of the way we sit on the bike seat, it can cause a little bit of like irritation and things like that. And it can cause you to bleed from the dick. I'm probably going to have about 30,000 cyclists write into the podcast now and say, that's factually inaccurate. But yeah, maybe that's why they're so angry all the time and just clip-clop around cafes in their little tippy-tappy shoes because they're all bleeding aggressively from the cock. Bleeding aggressively from the cock. That could be the episode title. We'll see. See what else comes up. But fuck. I'm that rattled from my fucking tooth today. I don't even think I got to where I wanted to with that story. So because I've stopped all that, since October till about 3 weeks ago, I'd lost 10 kilos, which for me, that's pretty fucking good. I was stoked with that. So yeah, I hit about 125 and I was like, oh shit, that's pretty bad. So now I'm sitting around, I was sitting around the 115 mark, but in the last 2 to 3 weeks, also I've been eating like a complete fucking pig. But I've put another 2 kilos back on. So pretty keen to fucking lose that. Another shitty thing, the sauna broke already. Just randomly condensation got into like the display and then it just started going error and fucking blew the fuck up. So I thought that was going to be a massive ordeal, but I just emailed the company, told them, I don't know if it's a common issue or what, but they were like, yeah, we'll send a new one out to you straight away. So there's one in the mail somewhere and I'll go back to my saunas and shit very soon, which I think will help the knee in theory. But time to get back to work, I think, with the whole fitness regime, the whole comedy thing. I think it's almost time to ramp things back up, but at the moment it's hard because it's school holidays. So both the boys are at vacation care today. I've got the day free of them, but there was a couple days last week where Nikita's part-time at her job. So the lady that she's part-time with is going on like a holiday or something. So Nikita's picked up a few extra days and things like that. So I've had to do the whole stay-at-home dadding thing. And I, definitely not envious of any mums or dads that do that as a full-time job. It's definitely easier to work than stay at home with the kids. No matter how many activities and shit you can fill them with, they will just get to a certain point of the day. My kids, it's about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's just fucking hell until bed. But last Thursday, I think it was, I filled their day. We went to the pool. We saw farm animals. We fucking did all this shit, right? Played out in the backyard for ages, and they still just decided they wanted to fucking be the biggest menaces in the world. But yeah, we did all that shit, and then we went out in the backyard, and we started. Our backyard's been a shambles for fucking weeks now. And again, can't talk about it right now, but when I can, oh boy, she's going to be a juicy episode. But one section of the backyard that we can dabble in at the moment. So we've always neglected our yards, right? And that was always because our dog Mello never let us have anyone over. So there was no real need for us to have a entertaining area, so to speak. But obviously she's gone now and Westy's got friends coming over here and there. He's having a sleepover soon with some mates. And yeah, it's time for us to sort of get it looking a bit more respectable, a bit more aesthetically pleasing, let's say that. And yeah, we started a section. Actually, Nikita even spoke about this on the podcast. And I think Adrian even said, what a silly idea. But she's had this plan. So we've got what do you even call like the outside undercover area? Is it a patio? I guess a patio? I don't know. We have an outdoor area, right? Like most houses do, where we've got a table, the barbecue, the kids have got some shit, blah, blah, blah. And beside that, we've always had the fire pit, the kids had like a play area with a sand pit, a little playground, blah, 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 but they've outgrown that now, right? And they've got all their big swings and trampolines down the back of the yard. So Nikita's like, I want to turn the old playground section next to the fire pit into like a running pond. So like a sort of like a water feature, I guess you'd say, and like gardens around it, rocks, blah, blah, blah. The pictures she saw on Pinterest, yeah, sweet, let's do it. It's not going to look like that at our house, but let's fucking give it a crack, right? So we start ripping all the old section out, and it's a fucking mission. We got to move all this old dirt, sand, fucking bark, whatever else we had there, right? Pull out all the timber sleepers. Just a real fucking shit of a job, especially when you got a dodgy knee. And we've done all that, and then Saturday comes around, Nikita's home, and it's the day to dig the pond in, right? So I've done all this work to prepare for this, to dig the pond in, and all of a sudden, Nikita goes, oh, I'm not sure I want to do a pond anymore. And I've gone, oh my fucking God, you cannot be serious. All those hours of labor on my sore knee just down the drain, because if there's one person in the world who has more ADHD and autism than me, it's probably my wife. So you could only imagine the conversations and ideas that fly around this house. Like all my shit is like business ideas and like shit like that, right? And all her ideas are like, oh, let's go on the RSPCA website, see which dog has been in there the longest, and then spend the next 2 weeks trying to convince James to go and buy that dog, which is disgusting. I played a little game with her yesterday. There was a dog in the pound for 200 days or something, right? I get it. It's sad. And I said to her yesterday, I go, have a look, and if he's still available, we'll go get him. And she went on there. She's like, oh, my God, he's still there. And then I'm like, fuck, what have I done? And then she scrolls down, and literally like 10 minutes before that, there was a comment from the RSPCA. They're like, good news, Rocky's been adopted today. And I'm like, thank you, fucking RSPCA. Westy's like, what happens if he's there for like 300 days? And Nikita and I have looked at each other like, do we tell him that? I'm not sure that it's RSPCA, like, they don't do the whole put down thing, do they? But I don't know. I know that used to be a big thing in pounds, that if they're there for an extended period, then they get the old go to sleep medicine. But yeah, that's where that one is. So new plan for that section is a recommendation from a real estate to increase the value of our property. So we're going to go with that for the meantime. And it's a lot easier for me. I'm not going to bore you guys with what it is because it's nothing fun. It's just for rich people if they have a boat or a caravan. So that's not us. Not us at all. But on top of the whole stay-at-home dadding thing, I teased this a little bit last week. I said Nikita and I found this dude on TikTok, and he's got us pissing our pants. He's got so many of these videos on there, right, on his TikTok. So his name's Whiskey B, and he's an American dude, and I thought this was his whole lane, that he just did this shit. But then when I started scrolling through his TikTok, he does so much cool shit as well. This is just one of his little side jokes that he keeps doing because it keeps getting so popular, I suppose. But I'll play this one. This one goes for a minute. Let me work out what the fuck I have done here. Jeez, I need to get these fucking videos and shit sorted better, eh? So he's basically being teenagers like these days. And the funny thing is I remember every time I'd come home from school and there'd be like a new word that would learn and would just start using it as every second word. Like my mum and dad would be like, what the fuck is this cunt going on about? But this video is so funny because Weston has started saying 90% of this shit from him and his mates saying it at school and stuff. And it's so fucking lame and annoying. So I'll hit play now.
Oh, let's go.
You're not eating that for supper.
Bruh.
No, I'm cooking.
You an op, bruh. You're literally doing too much, bruh. Literally, you're literally doing too much, bruh.
Can you take your shoes off in the house?
All right, bet, bruh. Bet. Run it back. You buzzing, bruh. You buzzing. Why you acting like a bot, bro? You bozo, bro.
Take them off.
Mom, the Wi-Fi's down. For real. Bruh.
You're just gonna have to do something else.
Bruh, you big dreaming, bro. You bugging, bruh. Let's go, bruh. I told you, bruh.
But there's so many, like literally Nikita and I always fucking say to each other now, we're like, you're doing too much, bro. You're literally doing too much, bro. Or fucking, what else he say? He's like, I'm built different. And the amount of times Westy says that, I'm like, shut up. That is not fucking a cool thing to say. But yeah, you're literally doing too much, bro. So yeah, go check that dude out. I find him funny as fuck. You guys might have gone, that is not funny at all. But hey, everyone's sense of humor is different. It's subjective. Humor. Let's talk about my week in comedy. There we go. How is that for a fucking... the fucking word has just gone out of my head. Do you know the amount of times I'll be on this podcast and I'll go, fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? And then I'll turn record off and I'll go, you're a fucking idiot. It's the most obvious word in history. But yeah, let's go into my week of comedy. So I took a little trip up to the sunny coast on Tuesday. Borrowed mum's car again because that's what you do as a successful 32-year-old open micer. You take your mum's car so you get free fuel, you get some little snacks on the passenger seat, and you get a disabled parking sticker. So yeah, I don't use a disabled parking sticker. The amount of times like we've driven somewhere with my mum and she's like, just park in the disabled one. I'm like, no, we can all walk here. Like there's a more hard up person than us. Anyway, that has nothing to do with the fucking story. So I've driven up to the sunny coast and part of me was like, everyone knows the fucking mood I'm in at the moment right now. I'm not funny. I'm not keen to do anything, but this week's been a little bit of a turning point for that, and I'm pretty stoked on that, to be honest. So went up to the sunny coast, and all day Tuesday went by, and I was like, fuck, I need to work out my set for tonight. What am I going to say? I procrastinated. I did real work. I did fucking other shit that potentially could have waited till Wednesday, but I just could not get in the mind state, right? And I'm like, well, that's okay. I'm going to have a 2-hour drive to think about it. And I get driving, put some podcasts on, put some music on. My GPS says I'm now 15 minutes away from my destination. And I'm like, shit, what the fuck am I going to say? And again, I just could not stop my music or anything. And it was so weird and infuriating that because I was pausing my music, I'm like, you need to fucking work out what you're going to say, dickhead. And just could not get my brain into it, hey. And I got to Soul Bar. Few mates there that I knew, so it was good. Good little hang. And I was fifth or sixth, I don't know. I was second last before the break. And I was fifth. So the first 4 went on. 2 of them, it was their first time, so fair enough. They're not going to have complete crushes. It's very rare for that to happen, unless you're Dave Chappelle. And then the other 2, I've seen them before. They got up and had okay sets, a couple of laughs here and there. And then part of me was like, oh, shit, you're a fucking idiot who hasn't even really prepared a set yet. And also, it doesn't look like this room is going to laugh at much. So what the fuck are you going to do, dickhead? But I don't know why. I just had this like overwhelming sense of calmness when the MC called my name. And it was so weird. And I just got on stage and I just did like my set. It was 2 new jokes and 2 old jokes. And I obviously sandwiched the new ones in between the old ones and had a sneaky little crush, made the whole drive worth it and made me think, holy shit, do I ever need to organise anything for comedy again, or should I just get up there and wing it? Which obviously I'm never going to do again. It was a one-time fluke. But yeah, that's 2 weeks in a row now that I've had some pretty decent sets. And I don't know if it's because I've slowed down that little bit, so it's now like every gig I have is fucking like crucial. If I don't crush at this gig, I've got a whole nother week to stew on that or whatever. Whereas before, when I was doing like 3 or 4 gigs a week, I'm like, oh well, I'll just fucking get it tomorrow, or I'm too tired to give a fuck today. But I don't know. Starting this week, well, actually, we'll get to it when I plug my shows. So fucking hold on, everyone. The other thing, I'm just going to put it in my week of comedy because I don't know where else to fucking sandwich it in, and these little breaks seem to be making the podcast easier for me because I can just tackle one thing at a time and try and keep my brain focused, right? So there's been times in my comedy career that I've run some rooms, right? Everyone's aware of that. I've plugged them on the shows before, blah, blah, blah. And a few of those rooms, the last one at Logan Home didn't really take off. I'll admit it. But the other rooms, fucking sellouts. Everyone had a good time. The comedians were stoked because on those shows I paid every comedian that performed, which is pretty unheard of in this market. But yeah, I was happy with the way I ran it. Blah blah blah. Didn't try to. So more or less, another show started last week, the Mansfield one that I plugged on the show a while back. I sort of palmed that one off to them to give them a crack there. I was supposed to be on the first lineup, but we won't go into it, hey? None of them listen to the show, so I think we're safe there. But I'm sure I'll get on one of the lineups soon. I mean, considering doing most of the legwork, but whatever. And then another room that got announced this week by potentially one of the biggest comedy, well, no, it is the biggest comedy club in Queensland. They've started a new room that I'm not going to go out there and say that venue had never even thought of comedy before I had approached them and pretty much had a deal locked in. Before I played the bitch card back in the Mansfield days and said, I don't want to be a room runner anymore. So it opened my eyes to, holy shit, I have all the ability to run these sick rooms, but I just, for whatever reason, I really don't have like the want or desire to be like a room runner, you know what I mean? But in saying that, quite a big opportunity has arisen for me. And it is off the back of a meeting that I had probably 10 months ago at a venue. Over the last 10 months, we thought we were going to make something happen back then. Something had come up, so it didn't work for either of us. Then they reached out, didn't work for me at the time. Then I reached out, didn't work for them. And then the other week, I needed something to do, and I just went to this venue I went there for a coffee, and I was like, holy shit, this place is fucking sick now. And I ran into the fucking venue manager. We had another chat, and it looks like we're going to have comedy happening there kicking off in June. So I'm not going to announce where it is or anything like that just because it's so fresh, and we've also got to work out a fair bit of the back end stuff. But I would argue that it's possibly one of the biggest venues running comedy at the moment from Brisbane to the Gold Coast. So can he handle it? I'm sure he can. But yeah, more to come with that. Stay tuned. It's a little bit exciting, that one. It got that exciting factor back for me, that venue. So we'll see what comes of it. From there, what should we jump into next? So I reckon let's go movies, then we'll go sport, right? So I watched 2 movies again this week. I know it's unheard of. Let's kick off with the worst of the 2. The kids had a sleepover at mum's on Saturday night. And Nikita goes, let's watch a movie. I go, okay, sure. We're going through all these sick movies that I want to watch, right? She's like, nah. And if there's one thing about my wife, 2 movies that she'll watch no matter what, horror movies, which I can get into. Everyone loves a good horror movie. And stupid fucking shark movies. So we're scrolling and The Meg 2 pops up. And if you've seen The Meg 1, it's just a completely stupid, unrealistic movie about a megalodon, which is a dinosaur shark. So you can only imagine how dumb the Meg 2 was. And look, it was an okay watch. It wasn't, I would never watch it again, or I would never recommend anyone to watch it. But it's exactly what you think is going to happen. Jason Statham is this kung fu fighting scientist who can also, he can beat up any bad guy on the planet, but at the same time, he can fight giant sharks and octopuses. So yeah, if you've got an hour and a half to kill and there's absolutely nothing else on your TV, go check that one out. But this is my good movie of the week, right? And this really fucking surprised me. I was not expecting to enjoy this movie as much as I did. So, that movie is Gran Turismo, which might ring a bell for a lot of you guys, especially if you're gamers from back in the day. So, Gran Turismo I'm pretty sure it's still, I think they're bringing out new ones. Gran Turismo is like a racing game, right? And it was cool because it was all the way from like your street cars, like your Skylines and all that, all the way to your like fucking top tier racing cars that are insane. So this movie is basically based around a true story, which again, I thought was cool and did not think was even a possibility in the world until we got to the end credits and they were showing clips of like the real dude that did it and things like that. But more or less Nissan needed something back in the day to like reignite their spark in the racing game. And they realized that there was like 30 million people or something playing Gran Turismo every day, racing with their cars and stuff, getting more track experience than some of the real race car drivers. So they started this little competition to get the 10 biggest like simulator races or whatever in the world and come and compete for a chance to race in like real life race cars and try and like boost Nissan that way, right? Which again, sounds like a completely unrealistic storyline for, yeah, it works in a movie, not in real life. But yeah, this kid came from fucking nothing where his parents were like, you need to start doing something with your life and get off those stupid video games, and went all the way to racing in a professional race and coming third or something, I think he came, or second. But fucking insane. That was, yeah, that's right. He came third in Le Mans, which is a 24-hour race, which is insane to think that months ago you're playing a video game and now you're in arguably the biggest race in the world for 24 hours, racing a real life fucking race car. He gets in a pretty bad, actually, spoiler alert, he gets in a pretty bad accident as well. But go check out the movie and it's fucking sick. That gets us into sport. Look at that. It just ties us all in, doesn't it? Sport into fucking race cars. I'm just getting something up here so we can go through it together, because in the past I would have organised this prior to the show, but with time of the essence, I'm going to do it live with you guys. So one of the big ones for this week is, and again, I don't watch it or anything anymore. I watch from a distance. I spoke about it a few weeks ago. But WrestleMania 40 is on this weekend. And for whatever reason these days, WrestleMania is split into 2 nights. I remember back when I used to watch it, it was just one big event, right? You'd just squeeze all your biggest superstars on there and it'd be a complete spectacle. And this year it's split over 2 nights. The Rock's come back, which is sick. He's come back as this like badass swearing character who just, there's so much like blood and swearing and shit again these days, which I think that's what's drawn me in. It's not really like, when I stopped watching it, it turned into some of the pansiest shit that I'd ever fucking seen, right? And now it seems to be going back to its like Attitude Era and just fucking looking sick again. But the main story from all WrestleMania is Cody Rhodes, who he made his debut back when I used to watch it, right? And he's the son of Dusty Rhodes, who's one of the biggest wrestling characters of all time. And just this guy's story is insane. He never made it to like that level of superstar, right? So he eventually got fired by the WWE years ago, went and made this giant career for himself in another organization. And now today he's headlining WrestleMania. And the whole storyline is Cody going to finish his story? So I again, this is the nerdiest, lamest shit I've ever spoken about. And wrestling is not real, but god damn it, they hook you with those fucking storylines. But let's get into some real fighting. I don't know if I said that then. I hope Cody finishes his fucking story and he becomes WWE champion. But the big one kicking off next week. Next Sunday, what date is this? Let's have a look right now because I've just pulled the card up. Sunday the 14th, we've got UFC 300. And I will go on record, me along with every other UFC fan in the world, saw the UFC card a month ago, UFC 300, and we were like, this is shit, this fucking sucks, this is a lame card, I'm not fucking buying it, blah, blah, blah. And I think that's because we were getting all those big fights one after another, like O'Malley and Cheeto, fucking Volkanovski and Ilya Topuria, and that like every card was just stacked, and we just wanted something big like Conor or fucking John Jones, something to blow our minds. So when we got the main event for this one, we were like, that is fucking shit. That is not fucking cool at all. But now that the dust has settled, if you go through this card from start to finish, like the fight kicking off the entire UFC 300 early prelims, right? So you don't even have to pay for these, is Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt, which should be a main event for a fight night on any other weekend of the year, right? And then you literally go up one by one, and every fight could be a main event for a fight night if you wanted to make that argument. The next fight of the night, another insane one, Bobby Green, who's been like a gatekeeper of the division for so long, he'll either have one of the sickest fights you'll ever see, or he'll get caught in like a knockout or a submission or something. But he's fighting veteran of the game, Jim Miller. Those that don't know Jim Miller, he fought in UFC 100, UFC 200, and now he's going to be the only person in UFC history to fight on UFC 300 as well. So this is sort of targeted as his retirement fight. So that I've got his record there: 37 wins, 17 losses, 0 draws. Like to have 37 wins in the UFC is fucking, well, some of those would have been out of the UFC, but still, that's fucking insane. Again, we move on to so that's the early prelims, right? That's not even televised on some of these apps. So then we go into the prelims. These are fucking insane as well. So Holly Holm, who knocked out Ronda Rousey back in her heyday. Look, I've never been a huge Holly Holm fan, right? And her age is getting right up there now. But the exciting thing about this fight is she's fighting Kayla Harrison, who Kayla Harrison has dominated PFL, which is a competitor of the UFC. But the cool thing about the PFL is if you win that tournament, you get $1 million, right? I'm pretty sure, if memory serves me right, Kayla Harrison's won that at least twice. And everyone's always been like, well, come and show us what you can do in the UFC. Finally, they got a deal across the line, and her welcoming fight to the UFC is Holly Holm, which is fucking, again, insane to have that on a prelim card. So I'll be watching that. Next fucking insane one. A couple months ago, this dude was UFC bantamweight champion, Aljamain Sterling. He's in the prelims card, fighting Calvin Kattar, which I'm assuming Sterling will beat him, but you never know. Again, fucking sick fight after sick fight. Then you get to the main card, right? Hang on. Oh, that fucking scared me for a second there. What was going on there? I just got a little notification at the bottom of this that said Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway was cancelled, but then it's re-entered at the top. I don't know what happened there, but opening the main event, everyone's excited as fuck for this one. So Bo Nickel, who a lot of people don't know who this dude is yet, but he is basically every person you listen to in the fight game will say this dude is the best wrestler to ever have come into the UFC, right? So his first few fights, he won by wrestling and submitting, fair enough. But his last 2 fights, he's come in there with a nasty fucking knockout. And everyone's like, holy shit, this could be the real deal. So at the moment, his professional MMA record, even though he's got hundreds of wrestling victories, is only 5-0, right? Which doesn't sound like he should be on a main card, especially UFC 300. But the hype and backing that this dude has is fucking nuts. And I did not expect this little lead up to UFC 300 to go this long, but I'm literally looking at these fights frothing at the fucking mouth. Charles Oliveira's fighting. And then the BMF title. So this is a cool one. I just mentioned it. Justin Gaethje versus Max Holloway. I fucking hope... I love both these guys. They're both two of my favorite fighters, right? But there's just something about Max Holloway that he's one of the sickest cunts. He's one of the nicest guys in the UFC. He always takes his son to the fights and shit, which it's hard to see him lose in front of his son, but like this whole character that he's built is insane. So I fucking hope that he gets a win. Wins the BMF title. Another cool thing about the BMF title is a bit, I don't know, I wasn't a fan of it when it first came in. It was a bit gimmicky. The Rock put it on the winner, blah, blah, blah. But the cool thing about this is Mark Coleman is going to put it on the winner. So for those that don't know, Mark Coleman was literally a pioneer of the UFC on like the early UFCs, right? And he goes down as one of the greatest in history. But literally a month or two ago, this dude, he's old as shit now. I think he's like in his 50s, might even be in his 60s. No, he mustn't be in his 60s. But his parents' house caught on fire, right? And this dude runs inside this literally almost burnt down house and saves both his parents and just fucks himself up, gets smoke inhalation, blah, blah, blah. Once he got both his parents out, he ran back in for the family dog, but didn't get it in time. And yeah, this dude was in hospital for weeks, just literally fighting for his life, and now he's coming back to put the BMF title on whoever wins that fight. So that's going to be another sick moment. Next one is probably, if I had to pick a fight that I was not keen for, it would be this one. I guarantee, like all the fights I say I'm not keen for, and this definitely has the, what's the word I'm looking for again? The ability to be one of the sickest fights on the card, but Zhang Weili versus, I'm not even going to attempt her name. Let's say Yan something. I think they're both Chinese fighters. But yeah, that could be a sick fight, could be a sleeper. But the big one, the main event, Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill. This one is going to be insane if Jamal Hill's Achilles tendon is actually healed properly. So basically, Jamal was the champion. He relinquished it because he tore his Achilles tendon or Achilles heel, whatever it's called, which you could imagine. It would be an insane fucking injury. And then in the meantime, Alex Pereira has gone and fought. What's he won? He's won 2 titles now. And now he's thinking about is this his 3rd one? I know there was talks about him possibly being a 3-weight champion. This could be... No, he's already the champion of this weight class. Don't mind me. I'm a fucking idiot. But yeah, that is going to be a fucking insane fight as well. So UFC 300 this Sunday, the 14th. If you're not fucking glued in front of your screen, then you're not a genuine UFC fan. I'll put it out there. Done. The other big tease for this week is the one we thought was going to headline UFC 300. Conor McGregor put out a little teaser saying coming soon. And there's been interviews with Dana White saying that he thinks he's finally got to like a deal with Conor. So we'll see. Now that the whole Roadhouse thing's died down and shit seems to be settling in the whole Conor thing, hopefully we do get him to return. Rumor is UFC 303, so that would be fucking sick. Because of the time and shit like that, I need to let you guys down. I don't have a premature premise for the week, so fuck me, right? But I do have a bit of a motivational clip for you. And this one, I shouldn't have just fucking closed that video screen. I'm an idiot. This one's sick. This one is one of the earlier ones that I found, right? When I first made the decision to quit my high-paying job where I was like a production manager. It was everything. I had a title. I had a fuel card. I had a huge fucking salary. I thought I had the world right. And then had that stupid dream where I was like, you need to do something that you want to do with your life, which is comedy and podcasting on the backside of that. So here is one of the legends himself. If you grew up in the 90s, you fucking love this dude, Mr. Jim Carrey. Ready?
Doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. Fear is going to be a player in your life, but you get to decide how much. You can spend your whole life imagining ghosts, worrying about the pathway to the future, but all there will ever be is what's happening here, and the decisions we make in this moment, which are based in either love or fear. So many of us choose our path out of fear disguised as practicality. What we really want seems impossibly out of reach and ridiculous to expect, so we never dare to ask the universe for it. I'm saying I'm the proof that you can ask the universe for it. My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant. And when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job. And our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want. So you might as well take a chance on doing what you love. Life doesn't happen to you.
Shit, we're going again. But yeah, that's an insanely true thing when you stop and think about it, that literally you think you've worked 10 years for a company, right? And you think, fuck, I've got the safest job in the world. But something could happen in their office tomorrow that they've got to make budget cuts or whatever. Or you could accidentally make a fuck up one day that costs them money. And at the end of the day, they've got to look after themselves. So you're not safe literally anywhere. So you might as well just go and do what you want to do, which, yeah, that hit home for me. So hopefully it hits home for a few of you guys. Shows for the week I have. So this is what I was going to say earlier. Old big dog over here. He's landed himself two comedy gigs this week. So again, I'm not going to ramp it up to the 3 or 4 that I was doing. I think I'm going to double in these 2 for the next. I've got 2 gigs a week for the next 2 weeks. So we'll see how we go with that. So I've got Wednesday the 10th at the Arc at Nobby's. So if you're down the Gold Coast way, come check me out there. Then Thursday the 11th at the Parlour in the Valley, I think. Sit Down Comedy Club runs that one, so it's my first time there. Yeah, come check that one. So if you're Brisbane or Gold Coast way, come check out either of those. Alternatively, if you want to chat to me on the show or just in private, send some DMs to the Can't Get Any Worse podcast on Instagram or email at cantgetanyworsepod@gmail.com. And hopefully I can talk to you guys next week after I've got half my fucking teeth ripped out. So thanks for listening. Share the podcast around and I will see you later.